Hi, it's Jill here with Mommyvignettes, and I'm very excited to be back with you, and just very excited to be here again and to be doing another video. So, as many of you have probably guessed, I did have our baby, so she is here, and she arrived safe and sound, and it's just so great that she's here now. We get to enjoy her in our home. So, I'm just going to give you a little update on the labor and delivery story and kind of what happened, and it was unexpected for us. So, and then both my girls, including the baby, are sleeping. So I will share with you guys our baby girl in an upcoming video. So stay tuned for that. So, anyways, today our daughter is 3 weeks old. So I apologize. It's been a few weeks, but we've just been enjoying our newborn, getting used to having two girls, and just trying to get some rest. If you have kids, you know that you don't get much sleep. So anyways, okay, so let me get started with the birth of our daughter. So she's 3 weeks old today. So what happened was I was 38 weeks and 1 day, and I started contracting that day around noon. So I hadn't had any contractions so far with this pregnancy. I started to have some contractions. At first I wasn't even really sure if they were contractions. I thought maybe it was the baby moving, but so I just started timing them, and they were actually about 5 minutes apart right from the get-go, which is pretty unusual. They usually start out further apart and then get closer together, but the contractions were about every 5 minutes, but they weren't painful. So the frequency was there, but the intensity was not. So I just kind of started keeping track of the contractions. Like I said, they started around noon that day. And I was really hoping to go into labor on my own. Like I said, I was 38 weeks and 1 day when the contractions started. And we had been trying to decide if we wanted to be induced at 39 weeks. I really didn't want to be induced unless I had to, or unless things looked like it was going to go that way. So, but I really wanted to go into labor on my own. That's how our first daughter came, was on her own. So, anyways, the contractions continued all day, pretty much for about 12 hours till way into the night. So, as the day progressed, they started to get a little bit worse. Still nothing really bad, I wouldn't even really say painful, maybe a little uncomfortable. So I let my husband know, he didn't come home from work or anything early, and I was just home with my daughter, and we were just playing. I had already packed my hospital bag, so that was ready to go. I was drinking lots and lots of water all day long, and just hoping that the labor was going to progress. And at this point, I was already 3.5 to 4 centimeters. That was from my previous doctor's appointment. So I was hoping that things would progress and that the contractions would get painful enough that I could go into the hospital. So anyways, we continued through the night, into the evening, had dinner, and then around like 10 o'clock-ish at night, they started getting a little bit worse, and we started deciding if we needed to make arrangements for someone to come stay home with our daughter if we were going to go into the hospital sometime that night. So so I thought my husband thought it would be a good idea if we made arrangements. So we did, and someone came over to stay with our daughter while we went to the hospital. So we didn't actually go to the hospital till about 1:30 in the morning. So I was just home in the evening, and through the first part of the night, the contractions were still about every 4 to 6 minutes apart. They were stronger and more intense, a little bit painful, but still nothing that I didn't feel like I couldn't handle at home. So, and as a labor and delivery nurse, the last thing you want to do is go into labor and delivery and then be sent home for false labor. So I was waiting until the pains were just too much for me to handle, which is what we did with my daughter, with my first daughter. And when we went into the hospital with her, I was already almost 7 centimeters. So we didn't want to wait quite as long this time, because my first daughter, her labor was very quick. So this time we didn't want to wait quite as long, just in case things progressed rapidly or quickly. So anyway, so I was just at home drinking lots of water. We were just watching some TV. I was sitting on an exercise ball or a birthing ball at home, just still keeping track of the contractions. And then, like I said, at about 1:30, my husband had kind of convinced me that we should probably go into the hospital to be checked, because he could tell I was in quite a bit of pain. I still wanted to stay home a little bit longer, but we thought, well, just in case things progress rapidly, and I was already 4 centimeters, so we went into the hospital. So when we got there, we got checked in, of course, and they checked me, and I was still I was like 4.5 to 5 centimeters. So I was hoping I was going to be a lot further dilated than that, but I wasn't. So so we waited an hour to be rechecked, and within that 1 hour time span, the contractions got kicked up way far in intensity. So the contractions got way worse. I was ready for an epidural when the nurse came back to check me an hour later. They were so painful. So she checked me, and at that point I was 7 centimeters. So I'd moved pretty rapidly from 4.5 to 5 centimeters to 7 centimeters within 1 hour, which is pretty quick. And so the contractions were still about every like 3 to 5 minutes at this point, much worse in intensity. I got the epidural. I wasn't able to get that right away, but I did get that, and I got the epidural. That helped. It made me really numb, which I really didn't like with my first daughter. I got a really light epidural dose, which was great, but this time they dosed it pretty high so that it would take effect before I delivered. So it ended up working out great. I didn't feel much pain, but I was so numb that was really uncomfortable for me to feel like that. So fortunately it started to wear off just right before delivery, but it still was hard to deal with being that numb. But anyway, so I got the epidural. As soon as I had that placed, the nurse checked me again, and I was 10 centimeters dilated, so I was ready to deliver. And at this point, we'd only been at the hospital about 3 hours, so things had progressed really rapidly. I was really glad we went in when we had, because things got really worse really quickly when we got to the hospital. So, and then my doctor came in. My water was still intact, so he came into the hospital, broke my water, and I was, like I said, 10 centimeters dilated already. So we started pushing, and within 5 minutes my daughter was born, and it only took 2 or 3 contractions and she came out, and it was so wonderful, and just so miraculous, and just everything I'd hoped it would be. So anyways, everything went really smoothly. It was really similar to my first daughter's birth, so we kind of know, I guess, when we have more children, that our delivery will go quickly like it did with these ones. So anyways, it was just a very wonderful experience. She was born at 4:51 in the morning, so the middle of the night, and she was 6 pounds 4 ounces, and we had guessed she was going to be under 7 pounds. So she was 6 pounds 4 ounces, which is 1 whole pound bigger than my first daughter was. My first daughter was 5'4", so we were very glad that that our baby this time was a little bit bigger. So she was 6'4", she was 19 inches long, and we named her Abigail. And I know a lot of you have been wanting to know the name, so we named her Abigail, and we just mostly call her Abby. We've been calling her Baby Abby for months, and my toddler, who's 2.5, has been saying Baby Abby, Baby Abby. So so we call her Abby and Abigail sometimes, but that is her name. She's the sweetest thing in the whole world. We love her. She's doing very well. Like I said, she's 3 weeks today, and her 2-week appointment, she'd already gained some weight. She's 7 pounds already, so that's very different for us to have a baby that gains weight like that. Our first did not. We had a lot of issues with her gaining weight and eating well. So this baby, this time, Baby Abby, is doing great. She's eating really well. Of course, it's always rough the first couple weeks if you're breastfeeding, which I am, but she's doing really well. Things are going well. Of course, we're not getting much sleep. She's not sleeping great at night yet, which is understandable. She's only 3 weeks old, so I haven't gotten more than about 3 hours at a time of sleep, so we're working on that. So again, that's partially why I haven't been filming a video yet. I've just been so drained of my energy, having the newborn plus having my toddler, who's been kind of the hard one the first 3 weeks. So let me know if you want me to do another video on how things have gone the first 3 weeks, and adjusting to having 2 kids and dealing with my toddler and my newborn. And I feel like this time around things are a lot easier this time, but also a lot harder. So there's just a lot of emotions and a lot of things going on right now that make it seem like it's easier and harder at the same time. So I feel more comfortable taking care of a baby this time, and nursing's going better. But it's also harder dealing with a second child, dealing with our toddler as well. So, and she's up all day. She takes a nap here and there, but that's been the hard part, is just getting hardly any sleep. So anyways, let me know if you have any questions. And like I said, both my girls are sleeping right now, so I'm really anxious and excited to show you or introduce you to Abigail soon. So again, thank you for your support, thank you for your inquiries, and thank you for being patient with me as we've adjusted these last 3 weeks to having a newborn. I'm really excited to be back with you. So thank you, you guys. Have a great day. Bye.